With so many games being made, there is bound to be some that either gets forgotten or barely talked about. There are definitely some that deserve a lot more love than they actually get. I mean games that actually deserve the more love, not like games like GTA 4, which sold like 20 million units and you'll still see people on Twitter saying it's underrated somehow. I mean games that got buried under other games. And for me, Prey 2017 is one of those games. Prey 2017 was developed by Arkane Studios, who has been most known for the Dishonored series. There was actually a game called Prey in 2006 too, which was developed by Human Head Studios. People thought when seeing the trailers for the new Prey game that it was going to be a sequel or a reboot, but the thing is, these games have nothing in common. The only thing they have in common is that both of them have alien species, that's about it. So why was it called Prey? Well, it's for the simple reason. The actual sequel to Prey 2006 was cancelled around 2014. So when Arkane was working on the game, Bethesda saw it and saw it had aliens and thought, hey, why don't you guys name it Prey? And Arkane agreed to it as it felt it fit the theme of the game. But as a result, it confused a lot of the fans. I do definitely remember when it was released, a lot of people liked it, but I heard some people were disappointed by it as it was not a sequel to the 2006 game or even a reboot of that. It's very understandable some people were disappointed by this. It's like being promised a triple cheese pizza, but you instead get a pepperoni one. Like yeah, it's tasty, but it's not what I really wanted. And as for now, there's no information about the sequel to this game or even the sequel to the 2006 game. But despite all this, I think Prey 2017 deserves a lot more love. Not only due to its fantastic atmosphere, but also the gameplay and its visual style. It is such a unique game that really can't compare to anything else I played. So I want to make this video to hopefully get some more people to play this game because it deserves a lot more love. So without further ado, let's get into this game. When opening up the game, you'll be greeted by a menu with the name of the game and a space in the background, while it stutters from time to time. The theme that plays here is also very soothing as it is eerie. Here you can also select your difficulty before starting a playthrough. For this playthrough I played on medium because I know this game is going to kick my butt a lot, and spoilers, it did. The game opens up with a main character named Morgan waking up in a pretty nice apartment. Morgan gets a call from her brother telling her to get ready to be picked up.
Hey, Morgan, wake up. You're burning daylight. You sent the helicopter to pick you up. It's just a few tests. Don't forget to wear your suit. See you soon. Oh, listen, really great you decided to come on board. We're gonna shake things up, Morgan. Like old times.
Getting picked up by the helicopter, we get to see a pretty nice view of the city, and landing we are greeted by our brother who is glad we came, as we are about to do some tests. We don't know what they are for, but that's not really important for now. When doing the test, it's easy to tell that something is off by the reaction of the scientist.
I'm sorry, can someone please explain to me what's happening? Simmons?
I installed exactly what Tina brought down.
Did you double check?
Speaker's still on.
After our last test, the scientist picks up a cup, which turns out to be a black creature sucking the life out of him, and Morgan falls over and passes out.
Alex,
Simmons, what's going on?
we have a problem.
What about Morgan?
She's alive, sedated.
Clean it up. I'm on my way.
The game opens up with a main character named Morgan waking up in a pretty nice apartment. Wait, what the fuck? I said this already. It's like the day before was just a dream, as you wake up in the same way with the same stuff in the apartment, even the saying it's the same date. The difference is we don't get the call from Alex, our brother, this time. We're going out the main door, we see a personnel who has been killed. This is also where we get contacted by someone who knows Morgan.
Hello, Morgan. It's time we spoke. My code name is January. You're not dreaming. What happened yesterday was real. If you want to know what's going on, first you need to get out of your apartment building. You're not safe.
And picking up the wrench, we can smash the glass window and see that all of this was fake. Everything has been fake, from the helicopter to the station you meet Alex in. You were in a simulation trick into believing you were somewhere else. Why did they do this all for Morgan? And secondly, what happened to the place? And how many times have they repeated this day over and over again? How many years? The wrench is the only melee weapon you will have throughout the game. It might not seem like much, but it can be a pretty strong weapon when used right. Against smaller enemies, it's good, and in medium-sized ones. When you do a charge attack, you can knock out the enemy for a bit, being able to land more hits before it stands up again. You can also do some sneak attacks, which will also increase the damage it does. Not long after, we are introduced to the first enemy in the game, the Mimic. The Mimic are these small shadow creatures where the main gimmick is the Mimic. They can hide as any object around the environment. This was also the same type of enemy that killed the professor during the test. They're also very fast, so they can be tricky at times to hit, but they don't have a lot of health and the damage is small, so they're not really a big threat. But usually they come in groups where they can be much more dangerous. But luckily they can actually be stupid. Like this one who was attacking me only to walk into fire and die. Truly apex predators. Exploring more of the area, we finally get to see the place we've been this whole time. Morgan was never on Earth. She has been on this space station the whole time. But Morgan, just like the player, has absolutely no clue how she got there. But in this area, we get to see the second enemy, the Phantom. Being bigger than the Mimics and has a lot more health and more damage, they can use both melee and shoot projectiles at you, so you'll need to be quick. They can also warp around, which makes them invincible until they stop again. But thankfully they're not so fast and are a bigger target than the Mimics, so hitting them is not really that hard. But even with that, they can still be pretty tough to encounter. Getting into Morgan's office, we can look at the screen behind the PC and see a special recording from none other than Morgan herself, her past.
Hello, Morgan. Tough day, right? If I'm talking to myself, it must be.
Morgan in the recording tells us the movement who has been contacting you is an ally, a robot Morgan has programmed to help you out. And in addition, she also tells us we have been in the station for 3 years, which means we have probably repeated the same day over and over again for so long. So during these tests, they have been putting a neuromod into Morgan, but taking him out each day to make her forget. As she's about to tell us more, she gets cut out by none other than Alex himself.
Damn videos. Sorry, but I can't let you listen to that. Not until I've had a chance to explain everything in person. For now, just... Damn it. I have to go. Just sit tight. Please.
We have gotten some answers, but we are also left with even more questions. We know the aliens we've been seeing around, named the Typhoons, have had some form of outbreak on Talos 1. We know we've been on this station for years, and the test we did earlier is why Morgan has repeated the same day over and over again. It was to test the neuromods and see how they will correspond with results. And the person named January is an ally we can trust. But again, we are also left with even more questions. We know the Typhoons were being experimented on, but we don't know for what reasons. We don't even know if there's more people out on the ship or we're just completely alone. And most importantly, why did Alex cut out the call? Questions that will be answered the more we go into this video. Now, this game might look like a horror game, but it's really not.
It's never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through.
It's a lot more of an immersive sim. Immersive sims are games where you can approach objectives in multiple ways. There's never only one way to approach a mission or how to solve it. I can understand that some people can think this as a horror game, but personally I wouldn't say so. Even though its atmosphere is fantastic. The Talos one is mostly empty, and the only sounds you'll hear aside from the music at times are the environmental sounds. But the music also does a great job on adding into the atmosphere. I already mentioned the main theme and it's really good, but one of my favorite musical pieces is the Alex theme. It's slow, but it's also sounding sad in a way. I also really like the Intertunnels themes. It makes flying around much more intense. But my absolute favorite track in the game is the Typhoon Voices 01. It's this repetitive yet ominous music that would fit really well in a Silent Hill game. It works perfectly well when you're just walking around and just hoping no enemies will be around. And the opening credits theme with Flying the Plane is also very cool. Now all that is awesome, but nothing can compare to the coolest thing in this game. And that is the glue gun. Oh my god, I love this thing. It is such a godsend. And that's because it is so versatile. It shoots balls of foam, which might not sound like a lot, but what you can do with it is insane. First of all, you can shoot it at the walls and objects, being able to jump on top of the foam and pretty much get to areas you could not go to otherwise. You can bypass many areas using this tool, and it's amazing. Second, you can put out fires and stop electrical wires from shooting electricity. And thirdly, by shooting at an enemy enough, you can freeze them for a bit, which will not only stop them but also increase the damage you do to them. I use this one so much on enemies, and it's always so helpful. If there ever was a religion I would join, it will be for the glue gun. You can also find a pistol on the higher staircase area. It's a good weapon that can be great against smaller enemies, but against big ones you need to use a lot of ammo just to defeat them. So it's best to save it for either enemies that can fly or the ones with smaller health pool. However, if you can manage to stealth behind them, you might be able to kill them with your whole magazine. It also has a silencer on it, which means if you shoot an enemy, all the enemies around the area won't hear it. Later on you find a power source to be able to resume the recording where Alex just stopped it.
You're not going to like what I have to say next. You have to destroy Talos 1. The research, the Typhon, nothing can survive. Including you. I know how it sounds, but you've seen what those creatures can do. They're a part of you now. If even one cell gets back to Earth, we're lost. I'm sorry. I wish there was another way. January can walk you through activating the self-destruct mechanism. Alex will try to stop you. He's allergic to failure. Too proud to go back to Mom and Dad with his tail between his legs. So, it's up to you now. Good luck. Told you wouldn't like it.
So now we understand why Alex tried to stop you. The aliens have multiplied themselves more and more and are just becoming worse and worse. Now the main objective is to find the 2 keys to activate the generator, killing all the aliens and unfortunately everyone else alive on it. As bad as it sounds, it's really the only right thing to do for now, and really the only solution. Like Paz Morgan said, these typhoons are dangerous, and if only one small drop of them land on Earth, it's completely over. The 2 keys were both given to Morgan and Alex, with Alex still having his and having destroyed Morgan's. But thankfully Morgan made a backup plan to build a new key copy in case this will happen. I think it's also a good time to mention some of the upgrades you can achieve in this game. You can find weapon crates that can upgrade one stat on several of your weapons or tools, but not the wrench. But then again, there's some abilities you can upgrade with getting more damage from wrench attacks, so that makes sense. But the really cool upgrades come in form of the neuromods. The neuromods are upgraded to Morgan herself, where they can upgrade a certain stat. In the skill tree, it's divided by 3: Scientist, Engineer and Security. Scientists are upgrades related to how much health you can heal, hacking of doors and electronics. Engineering is related to what you can fix, such as electronics, and how much you can upgrade your tools and weapons. And lastly is Security, which is more about your stealth, health and damage. They're all great in their own way, and can be very useful in certain scenarios. I personally went more with the Engineer route, as I really like being able to fix doors and turrets. It was really helpful. But also to keep in mind that you need a certain amount of neuromods to get these upgrades. The ones at the beginning only require 1, but then later on they might require 8 of them. But later on you also acquire a special tool that can grant you even more abilities with even more unique branches. But there is another interesting thing that happens when we first take one of the Typhoon neuromods.
What's happening?
Don't let them do this to you.
This cutscene had me very confused when I first saw it, and unfortunately for now, it's hard to tell what was going on. The one thing that was sure though, is that we could hear Alex in it. Maybe this cutscene was an old flashback to Morgan which he took in Neuromod before, but it's also weird if that's the case, cause when Alex asked what's happening, his colleague responds with, "It's in shock." Almost being referred to as a creature rather than a human. But moving forward to Harvard Labs and jumping down this hole, we can find the Psychoscope, and this this is where the really cool upgrades come in. A tool that can scan any type of enemy in the game. If you manage to scan enough of that type of enemy, you will be able to unlock some of their abilities. So there's a lot of cool abilities in the game, like a phantom blast attack that deals good damage around a small area, but it also can stun the enemy. Might actually be the one I use the most. Or how about using a dead body of a human and creating a powerful phantom of them to fight alongside you. But the coolest ability without a doubt is the mimic ability. Just like the mimics, you can mimic objects around the environment. With this, you can get through tight corridors you otherwise could never get through. And by upgrading this ability more, you can even become an operator or turret and shoot at enemies. It's really cool. I really love these abilities, and it gives you so much more room when it comes to countering enemies. Getting this far into the game, we are also introducing some new and dangerous enemies, and some of these are just so fucking painful to fight, man. So earlier I talked about the mimics and phantoms. Well, they also have other forms that are far more dangerous and a lot more annoying. For the phantoms, there are the fire ones, electrical ones and etheric ones. And for the mimic, it's a greater form. The greater mimic form has a lot more health and does more damage, but it's not really that bad. Unless there's like a bunch of them, then they're not so bad to take down, to be honest. For the different forms of phantoms, however, these forms are so fucking annoying. The Voltex forms will make them have a purple aura. These have a special ability where they can make another copy that does the same amount of damage to you. Difference is the copy has a lot less health. They're also just a lot more tanky and does a lot more damage. The glue gun is still effective against them, but the wrench, it does barely damage, so you have to use some form of weapon. The thermal forms are surrounded by fire, so they will burn you if you get close to them. They also shoot fireballs that does more damage to you, and they have a lot more health. These are even worse than Voltex, because at least with a Voltex you can still freeze them, but with these fire ones you can't. I really hate these enemies and they're never fun to fight. But my least favorite form is the electrical one. Some of the biggest pains in the ass for me, and I cannot stand them. They're more tanky with a lot more health than normal phantom. They also will do a lot more damage if you get close to them, but they will also stun any weapon you hold on you, making them useless for 5 seconds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's really awful. Any turrets or helper robots nearby will just get instantly destroyed. The projectiles also does so much more damage, like Jesus Christ. They are just so unfun to fight. The only upside is that they're slow, so at least they will never run towards you, but that doesn't do much, considering they can still kill you easily from afar. But fair enough, there is a saving grace to make these encounters a lot easier, and that is the shotgun. I said it before and I will say it again, shotguns in horror games are always amazing, except for in Doom 3. In that game it just kinda sucks. It's the most powerful firearm in the game, being able to even kill the phantoms in 2 shots aimed at the head. Even the fire electrical typhoons went down at a few shots. Alongside the glue gun, I use the shotgun the most. But we also get introduced to one of the most dangerous enemies in the game. The Poltergeist is the most unique enemy in the game. This enemy attacks you by lifting you up and slamming you to the ground. They're also invincible and only reveal themselves for a bit. The attacks does so much damage, it's insane. They do at least make a lot of noise, so you always know when one is nearby. Thankfully they aren't really tanky, so 2 shots with the shotgun and they will go down easily. But the Typhoons aren't the only enemy you will fight in the game. They're also the corrupted operators. On Talos 1 there are different type of operators that can help you, either by fixing your suit or healing you. But the corrupted ones will attack by burning you. They're not that bad on their own, but they can be really annoying when there's multiple of them. Best way to take them down is either using the EMP charge that will stun them completely, or using the wrench to knock them down. They will also explode when defeated, so always back off a bit so you don't take the extra damage. Getting back to the story, we are in a lab where we can see through the glass waves of yellow colors in the area, and Alex calls us telling us a bit more of how this was the start of their experiments.
Take a good look. Everything happening on Talos 1 started here. You were so driven in the beginning. My mistake was agreeing to put you at the center of the tests. That's when you began to drift away from me. We're close to understanding what they're after. What they're building. Just need a little more time.
But even with this, we're still not sure what it does. In fact, we're not even sure what the Typhoon's goals are. Now, if you go to the left, you will stumble upon a chamber with a man stuck in it. So your first instinct is, oh, I should let him out, he seems innocent enough. But looking at the PC, we can find some really terrible stuff about him. He is a criminal, having done several crimes, like soliciting a minor. So with this knowledge, I did what any reasonable human being with a moral compass would do. I killed him by opening the doors to the mimics.
You not to do it! Oh shit!
quick to project human features onto things they don't understand. The Typhon kill us without hesitation. But it's not because they're evil. It's because they can't do otherwise. You know what we discovered? They lack mirror neurons. All their wonderful abilities, there's one thing we can do that they can't. Empathize with the suffering of another living creature.
Despite how deadly these creatures are, Alex still wants to do research on them as he wants to use their abilities to give them to humans. Morgan wants this too as she was on board in the beginning. I mean, she was even the one who made the psychoscope. But the more she took the test, the more she realized that this was a big mistake. In the beginning, Alex does try to stop Morgan, but as the game progresses, he starts to realize there's no point stopping her. She's gonna do whatever she can to get to her goal. So all he can do is really help her, and has hope that when they get to talk to each other, he might be able to convince her. But before any of that could happen, I stumble upon the absolute worst enemy in the game. An enemy that is like almost impossible to kill, that is the Nightmare. The Nightmare is this huge typhoon that shoots projectiles and uses physical attacks against you, and is super fast. This enemy is absolutely terrifying to fight, as they can just appear completely random, and when they do, there's a timer on when they can go away. The first time you spot one is in the garden behind a locked door, and generally she will even tell you that it doesn't have any data on this creature, unlike the other typhoons.
Morgan, are you alright? That Typhon, there's nothing in the research. Stay away from it.
This Typhoon on medium was scary enough, but on Nightmare difficulty, it just one-shots you no matter what. Despite its huge size, it can still go into smaller rooms, which makes it even more terrifying. An absolute beast of an enemy that will always make you cover in fear whenever it happens. You can defeat it, but I try, man. It's so hard. It's almost feels impossible. Like, it's better just to run for it because like it's not even worth it. Speaking of Nightmare, for this video I played the game twice. Once on medium and the other time on Nightmare with all the extra effects. The main difference from medium to Nightmare is that enemies deal more damage, have more health, and the AI seems to dodge more of your attacks. But you can actually make the game even harder by selecting some extra status effects you can get in the game. These include broken bones, which means if you're hurt enough, you can have a broken leg. The broken leg means you will take damage just by running or jumping, about 30 or more so, with the sound of blood dripping on the ground and blood on the screen. To get it fixed, you need to find a medical operator, and they're actually really rare in this mode. It took me hours before I found one, and normal food won't heal over 75 with a broken leg, so that's also something to think about. The second box you can check is weapon degradation. When using up, weapons will become unusable until you find a repair kit to fix it. It does take a while for a weapon to be broken, so I didn't really use much of these. You can also get another effect called Fear. With Fear, your vision will be impaired and your accuracy is reduced. And ironically enough, alcohol is the one thing that can actually cure it. Now, I went on for a while without talking about the atmosphere itself, and it is really fantastic. Talos 1 is visually so thrilling to look at. My favorite area in the game is probably the garden. It just feels so chill despite there being some really dangerous enemies here, like again, the Nightmare.
Did you just shut at me?
Like, I just imagine sitting on the chair and just looking out and seeing space. Just so enthralling. You also get to go outside the space station with the frost pack and appreciate the views so much more. It's actually so cool how you can get to fly around the entire station and see from all its angles. It's also a good way to travel around the areas in it, as there's multiple shuttle doors to enter. Coming to the garden, we have to enter a certain door, but due to it being voice locked, we can't enter. It can only be opened by saying a few words in the voice of a person called Danielle. These can be found in the crew quarters. This area is interesting because here we can see not only humans still being alive, but they're being mind controlled. They still have their mind intact, but if they spot you, they will run towards you and explode. These are being controlled by a certain typhoon, the Telepath. The Telepaths are these flying typhoons that control any living human nearby and use them as bombs. They also shoot purple projectiles that follow you and do heavy damage. They are weak to typhoon abilities though, and the shotgun can make pretty good work out of them as well. They are tough, but not the worst. You can even spot them in the garden, controlling some other humans there as well. Luckily, there is a way to save the humans from the mind control. You get a typhoon ability that will let you be able to free their minds and not kill them. When you first enter the crew quarters, you will also hear a voice talking to you through some speakers.
You, I see you. Another puppet. Looking for you behind your eyes. Come closer. Yes, a little closer. Whoever you are, run. There is no more food here except you. If you are still a hold of your brain, good. Others here are not. Shoot first before they get close. They're puppets. Bombs. Their master is close. Kill beast, or puppets, or both. But do it before they kill you. When no more puppets, maybe we talk.
This person seems to believe that the best way to deal with humans is to kill them. He is willing to meet you even if you take care of all the typhoons and humans. It doesn't matter if you kill them or not. When it's done, you can finally meet the person outside the kitchen.
Why, Dr. Morgan, what a pleasant surprise after all this time. Shall I prepare?
The name of the man is Will, and he used to work as a chef at Talos 1. Despite clearing the area, he still won't let us in, so he asked us to do one last thing for him. To find his medal, as it means a lot to him. And by killing more typhoons and finding it, we can finally enter the kitchen where Will is making soup. Having helped Will wants Morgan to go to the freezer to get a thing, and...
Stop, piece of junk. Are you awake, you? Frozen dead, maybe? I take puppets to a screen. I see all the names in the list. Your name too. Means you listen from now on. I know who you are. M.U. Daughter of William Yu. William. Transtar. Always playing with lives. Now, maybe I watch these beasts eat you. Like you tried to feed me to them. Or... cold kills you first. Make you into a frozen puppet.
By trying to find an exit, we can find the body of another person named Abby. This person was not killed by Typhoon, but by Will.
Abby, I'm still in deep storage. I don't know why you won't pick up. I hope you're safe. If things get bad, I'll jettison a data vault and spacewalk along the hull. Come to the fitness center and bang on the window by the pool. I should feel the vibration. And Abby, please don't take any chances, all right? Be safe.
This recording was of Danielle, the same person we need the voice samples for. In the recording, she mentions knocking at a certain window. This window is in the same room as a telepath. By clearing all the enemies that knock on the window, Danielle appears, being one of the few that's still alive on the Talos 1. More on Danielle, she, unlike several other scientists on Talos 1, really hated Alex and Morgan, more so Alex. She found both of them very arrogant, and when talking about them, she did not stir around the pot.
It's like I can see the sheet music in my head. I feel like I've been doing this since I was 7. Besides, you are going to be on stage with me, right? Only to catch you if you suddenly collapse. And only if you keep me from punching Alex if I drink too much.
You can even find an audio log where Morgan had recorded some audio on her experience with several of the workers on Talos 1, and Danielle was one of them.
New entry. Show. Danielle. Head of IT. Dislikes you. Dislikes Alex more. Need to find out why. Note to self. Research. Chef Mitchell and a motive operator hack.
Danielle also had a co-worker she really liked, to the point where they became in love with each other. This person was Abby, the person that Will killed. When you meet Danielle at the window, the dialogue will actually be different depending if you killed Will before meeting her or not. If Morgan does kill him, she will be grateful for avenging Abby. If she doesn't, she will ask Morgan to kill him and will even threaten to haunt her for the rest of her life.
And if you manage to get back inside, remember, you owe me. Kill the son of a bitch who hurt Abby, or I swear to God I'll haunt you.
Which still shows that she doesn't really like Morgan much, but hey, she still has more respect for her than Alex. By doing this quest, you can get enough voice samples to open a door. However, if you don't do this quest, there is another way to get the samples. That is to turn on the recording of her performing on stage, which by the way makes several typhoons arrive, and this part was just so frustrating. You have no idea, this part just fucking sucks. Going a bit back to Will, this person is actually not Will, but an imposter. We can even find a recording of the actual Will in the kitchen, who most likely is dead by now.
This is pretty weird, Quentin. I know, but if we... I don't want to know. I'm doing this as a favor, that's all.
Cargo container 3232. It's on the other side of Cargo Bay B, next to the utility tunnel.
When I was head chef at the Space Institute, no one asked me to conceal food in a cargo container.
Just go easy on the ill, alright?
If you don't kill Will right away, he will talk to you from time to time and even set up traps on locked doors using a recycling charge when activated. So the question remains, who is this Will imposter? But enough about that, we need to talk about the last weapon you can get in the game, which is the Q-beam laser. And it's honestly my least favorite weapon to use. It's a cool idea for a weapon, shooting a laser will make the enemy explode when the whole bar reaches green. My problem is that it takes forever to kill bigger enemies. It just uses so much ammo, it's not really worth it. Like shotguns, stun guns and pistols are just way better options to deal with enemies. I usually either die or take too much damage when using the Q-beam, so yeah, this weapon, it's not good, it just sucks. Moving further in the story, Alex locks Morgan again in a room as he needs more time to prepare for the talk later.
Sorry, Morgan, but I have to lock you in this time. When I trashed your arming key, it was to keep you from making a huge mistake. It's too late to stick our heads in the sand. We're committed now. You should be safe in deep storage. When everything is ready, we'll meet in my office. I hope you believe me. I really am on your side. You're just not yourself.
Also here we get introduced to one of the tankiest enemies in the whole game, the Technopath. These things can be so deadly as they shoot a lightning bolt that can shoot electrical lines that'll hurt you if you're close. It doesn't even have to be in the same room, they can shoot from across the space to just get to you. It's insane. And also sometimes they have these turrets on the side that will actually shoot at you. And also the health pool is really big. But they do have some weaknesses. The Psi ability does a lot of damage, shooting at the eye with a shotgun does a lot of damage, and lastly the stun gun is actually really fantastic against them. So if you have these, it's not really that bad, but they usually come around with other enemies around the area, so they're not easy to take down. One of the last enemies to talk about in this game is the Weaver. The Weaver is unique because they will spawn a bunch of small enemies called Cytoids. Cytoids don't do a lot of damage on their own, but if they're in a bunch, they can do a lot of damage. Plus, they're also radioactive, so it can give you an extra stat if you're not careful enough. They have barely any health, so even shooting with a foam dart or glue gun will actually kill them. The Weaver, when being attacked, will also let out a scream distorting you. But just like the Technopaths, they're not really too bad to take down if you have the right tools. Shotguns, for example, they do wonderful work of them. Eventually Morgan finds an escape shuttle so she can get out of the locked area, but she gets knocked out, which is also where we get another short flashback.
They're free.
No, nothing that interferes with memory formation.
And again, like before, it leaves us with more questions than answers. After that, we are headed towards the cargo bay as there's actually a group of survivors there. But before we can reach the destination, we get a call from someone nearby in a container.
This is Dr. Dio Igwe. I'm broadcasting to all contacts in proximity. Please, whoever is out there, listen to me. Oxygen is low and I have no spacesuit. An accident in cargo bay forced me to seal myself inside this container, but I have no way to dock with the station from in here.
Now here you have two choices. You could either open a door and kill him.
Wait, what are you doing? Stop, damn you, stop!
Or you can dock the container and save his life.
Oh, at last. I thought that crate would be my coffin. Even the stale air of Talos laced with a faint hint of nicotine and antibacterians. Oh, he's like spring. You have my thanks, Dr. Yu. But I thought... Well, you're no longer running the memory hamster wheel, I see.
This character is one of the more major characters in the game. Unlike many other scientists aboard Talos 1, Dr. Igwe actually respected both Morgan and Alex, even acting as a second hand to Alex. He was one of the closest to the Typhoon project, and as we'll get into more later on, his missions for you are more unique than most other characters you get from. Getting into the cargo bay, we can see it being flooded by a lot of typhoons, so before we can meet the survivors, we need to kill these creatures first. After doing so, we can finally talk to some of the survivors, with one of them being Sarah. Sarah is also one of the major side characters, as she will also help Morgan out. She has taken the role as a leader for the group and she has been doing a pretty good job so far. But just like Danielle, Sarah is not really super fond of Morgan, but she doesn't hate her either. There is this interesting quote you can find of a psychiatrist on board the ship having a session with her as she explains her feelings towards Talos 1 and this project as a whole.
Taking on a losing battle like that, fighting, Not enemy troops, but the equivalent of a natural disaster.
It wasn't natural, it was man-made. It prepared me for here, Dr. Cole. Because this station, it's the same thing, a disaster waiting to happen. We are well-trained and poorly equipped. The research is dangerous. Keeping secrets secret is dangerous. I'm sure you would agree.
She will continue to guide the rest of the gang and keep them as safe as possible. But moving towards the reactor, Sarah does talk in the microphone to reach another character named Michaela. You find her laying on the ground as she has a special condition that can cause her to die if she doesn't get her medicine.
I thought I was going to die. Well, sooner than I thought I was going to die. Where did that thing come from? Was it Tony? The way it was looking at me. I'd get up, except for my legs, and my lungs, and my nervous system. Don't look surprised. Paraplexus, remember? You warned me. The boosters are in my office. No way I'm getting there now.
After activating the reactor again, and by the way, just a heads up, if you play the game, please have enough parts to fix this elevator or else you're gonna have a hard time climbing all the way up again. Doing that, we can reach outside the station again and find her medicine and save her life. Michaela is an interesting character. As to Morgan, she meant the most to her as she used to be her actual girlfriend. But due to Morgan finding out about her condition, Michaela got angry and broke up with her. Most likely because she was scared of Morgan sending her back to Earth if she found out. But now finally Alex has given up on locking you in and decided to actually go and talk to you instead. Arriving at his office though, he's not there as he doesn't feel like he's quite ready, but he still wants to show you something to understand more on what's going on and why he's been doing this.
Whatever. I feel more like myself than ever. I mean, look at this. We did it, Alex. It's real.
Enjoy it while you can, because in a few minutes, it'll all be gone when we strip out the neuromods and reset.
I know. Including my memory of it. In the meantime, I've given Alex the design for a device I think could shut it down, if it ever broke containment. Alex just has to grow a pair and commit.
You don't have to take all the credit. What if it doesn't work?
It'll work. Trust me. What else are we going to do? Blow everything up? That won't save us.
So everything Alex has been doing up to this point has been because of Morgan. She has been the one who has insisted on this project as a whole. She still wants to take them out and continue doing the experiments. We also know by now that when she did take the experiments, she started to change her personality. There's also a hidden recording from Morgan behind the TV in a locked safe, talking about the weird dreams she's had.
I keep having this dream. I'm just staring into the black between the stars. There's something there. I know there is. I just can't see it. But it sees me. I can feel it. Hate us.
Alex also asked you to do one more favor for him. He's willing to give you the second key and meet him in person if you can scan some of the yellow corals and find out more about what they exactly do. When scanning the corals, it's revealed that they act like a neural network that keeps all the memories of its victims in it. Alex wanted you to do this so he could finish a device that could kill all the Typhons at once without having to blow up the station. So now there is two possible ways to defeat the Typhons, either blowing up the ship or doing the Alex way with just killing the Typhons. But just right after as Morgan is about to upload the coral data to Alex, it stops and someone has arrived to the station.
Morgan, transfers hold it. Something or someone. Shit.
This is Commander Walter Dahl. The TranStar Board of Directors has authorized me to take full command of Talos 1. Effective immediately.
This is Walter Dahl, being sent by Alex and Morgan's parents to stop the operation and grab anything valuable back to them. Walter claims he will save every member on board Talos 1 and get them safe home, but it's obvious that this man wants nothing more than everyone dead. He has an army of operators that are way more tanky than the usual corrupted ones. These can be pretty tough to fight and will just respawn if an operating station is nearby. Walter will even call and contact Morgan, saying how she's just a little rat to him. Now, this is where the outcome of his fate can actually change a lot. You could just find where he is and kill him and save the people carrying away. But if you save Dr. Igwe from earlier, he will propose another idea. So Igwe wants to save Walter as he believes he could get them all off the ship, since Walter has installed neuromods for his piloting skills. If they can make him unconscious and take the neuromods for a bit, he could forget his whole mission entirely. If you do this way and bring him back to Dr. Igwe, he will wake up and be confused, but will still help them out of the station.
What? Who are you? Morgan? Your father's been asking about you. And Alex. Yes, of course I can pilot. Wait, what emergency? Is this Argus installation? Where's Casper?
I'm afraid there's no time to explain. We need to get to the shuttle bay and prepare for departure. TranStar mandate. Dr. Yu can confirm.
Of course. Morgan, you look like shit.
By saving Dahl, you'll also save people on Talos 1, whether you decide to blow the station or not. With Dahl settled, Michaela wants to speak to Morgan as she wants to ask for a favor. She wants Morgan to find any clues of what happened to her father, as he was on the station at some point but has completely vanished since then. But moving towards the location, Dr. Igwe wants to stop you and wants to talk to you, telling you that it might not be a good idea to reveal what happened to her father.
I'm sure there are logs, records in deep storage, but Morgan, you know what happened to him already. You've simply forgotten what you did. Miss Illusion, she may not understand. Do what you must. But if the records are gone, or happen to be destroyed due to the station damage, it would be for the best.
Now when hearing this I thought, I'm sure it's not that bad.
Do you have a family?
Grab the Typhon Cacoplasmus.
I have a daughter. They took me from her. I was promised I would see her again. I signed your papers.
Let's stay focused, everyone.
Release. Typhon Cacoplasma specimen is in a chamber with subject 32.
Now it's understandable why Dr. Igwe didn't want Morgan to show the old log to Michaela. You are, again, given two choices. You could upload the data to her, which is the one that would hurt the most. She's so happy that Morgan managed to find the recording and is super grateful and wants to listen to the recording with her. And when you do listen together with her, well, it goes as well as you would expect.
My father is right. You don't understand. Your father, mother, your stupid, deluded brother. You will never understand family. You don't even understand what it means to be human. Get the hell away from me.
I can't fault her for this reaction, and to be honest, I'm really surprised she did not try to kill me, but at this point with how the station is going, there will be no point. The other choice you can take is to delete the file and tell her it's missing. But this one feels wrong. Sure, she's glad you tried and are still friends with you, but you lied to her face. Despite the first one being a lot more painful, I think she deserves to know the truth. So you guys remember Will? You know, the fake guy that wasn't actually Will, was an imposter? Well, I want to bring him up again as he is somewhat related to Michaela's father. His real name is actually Luca. Luca, just like Michaela's father, was brought onto Talos 1 to be experimented on, as all the recruits who were experimented on were criminals, having a choice either to go to jail or being experimented on Talos 1. But unlike Michaela's father, the reason being trying to find his daughter, Luca most likely just wanted to escape from jail, that's why he ended up here. But when Luca realized what they were doing to his test subjects, he started to want to take revenge on both the U's. Why he decided to kill Abby, I'm not sure of. Now with all that out of the way, it's finally, and I mean for real this time, to talk to Alex. He has been hiding in a secret bunker under his office this whole time. And before he wants to give us the key, he still wants to try and convince us not to blow up the station.
I promised you my arming cake.
Okay, but this time, let's hear him out actually.
All I ask is you hear me out first. And you can blow Talos 1 to pieces if that's what you think is best. I don't think you'll do it. I know. Because I used to think we couldn't be trusted to play with fire without burning the house down. But you convinced me. You showed me anything was possible, even if the price was steep. This fabrication plan is for the null-wave device prototype you conceived. It will hijack the coral signal and use it to deliver a massive shock to every Typhon organism at once.
As Alex is about to give the key to Morgan, a massive typhoon of the size of Talos 1 has arrived.
What? Morgan!
Time is running low and Morgan has two options. Either destroy the station or trust Alex and only destroy the typhoons. Alex gets knocked out, but you can still save him by dragging his body to the bunker and closing the door. In doing so, he will call right after, thanking Morgan. There's a complete panic at Talos 1 and several areas are actually locked off, now due to the typhoon blocking them. Morgan will also be contacted by Dr. Igwe, who will tell you to do what Alex says, as he also believes there's no reason to destroy everything they made and just destroy the typhoons instead. But Michaela will tell you to blow up the station as it's gone too far. Same with January. If you decide to blow up the station, you'll have to go down to the reactor and arm both keys. And going to the bridge and finishing the job, Alex will stand there, but will try and convince you for the last time not to do this.
Morgan, I hope you're proud. You're about to annihilate decades of work and scientific progress in a matter of minutes. This isn't going to keep the world safe. The Typhon will be back one day. Only next time we'll be helpless and ignorant because of what you're about to do. It's not too late, you know. We can still salvage this. You change your mind once, you can change it again.
Warning, reactor detonation imminent. Please evacuate Talos 1.
I wish there was something I could have said to snap you out of this fugue. It's my fault. I gambled too much. And the worst part? It isn't losing the station or the tech. It's you. I lost my sister. That is a mistake I will never recover from.
It's here we get to see his real feelings. While the research is important to him, nothing comes close to just his sister Morgan. All he really wanted was getting his sister back and just doing the research together. But like I said earlier, he won't stop her. If she wants to blow the station, then she will blow the station. And by doing so, he will stand by her side as the station is about to explode.
Reactor detonation imminent. Please evacuate Talos 1.
I keep having this dream.
Now let's say you didn't do that and instead you choose to neutralize the typhoons, then you have to create a device to do so first. Going down back to the chamber where the heart of the coral is, you have to put it on top of it. After this you're supposed to go back to the bridge, but there is actually one more interaction you can actually get before doing that. By going down to the pods you can find Luca again in a pod. He claims he's stuck on the seatbelt, but he's lying. As it's easy to see, he has a recycler right next to him. If he is going down, you're going down with him. But I was too smart and deactivated it, with him giving his final laugh after.
We are over now.
Going back to the bridge, you'll find Alex with January as they're arguing about blowing up the station or not. She will even shock Alex at some point and actually make him unconscious. She won't let you continue unless you either destroy the station or her.
And nothing of value was lost.
And by destroying her, you can press the button and neutralize all the enemies on Talos 1. I also want to mention that the interaction before either blowing up the station or not will be different depending on whether Alex and January are still alive. In both endings, if both of them are alive, January and Alex will argue with each other. And both of these endings, if you actually did save Dahl, he will also save the other survivors, as we see a ship flying out of the station. You can even sit on his ship and escape from the station before it blows up, which means you left Alex there all alone. And with both endings, you'll be greeted by the credits. But skipping to the credits, we are met with the final cutscene of the game.
it's finished.
Waking up in a chair with Alex and 4 operators standing in front of you. We were actually never at Talos 1, but instead in a simulation this whole time. The character in the chair is a Typhoon human hybrid. This simulation was a test to see what choice you will make in the simulation. The coolest part about this cutscene is that the operators will actually say different things about you depending on what you did in the game. If you took neuromods, killed any people, who you saved, and what ending route you decided to take. These 4 operators, by the way, are the main side characters like Dr. Egway, Michaela, Sarah, and Danielle. And the reason for doing this simulation is because they need this Typhoon's help. The worst case scenario has actually happened. The thing that January and past Morgan warned us about is now reality.
What you experienced was a reconstruction based on Morgan's memories. This is the world today. We spent years trying to put what you can do into us. We never tried putting what we can do into you. Until now. You're the bridge between our species. I need to know if you see us. I mean, really see us.
I do really like this ending as it's a nice twist that's actually been hinted at throughout the game. Those cutscenes from earlier that would appear randomly with some flashbacks, those weren't flashbacks, but instead the simulation breaking up for a few moments and a Typhoon trying to communicate with you. I'm really glad I went for this route because they could have easily done an ending like, oh, you've been in a coma for 6 months, Morgan. Oh right, this has all been a dream. But I'm so glad I didn't do that because that would have been insanely lazy. Now, again, I swear, I said this like 5 times. You're given 2 choices. You can either shake Alex's hand and agree to help humanity, or you could just kill everyone. One last thing I also want to mention is that there is actually a 3rd ending you can get. In early game, a robot by the name of December will contact you, informing that there is an escape pod that you can actually use to get away from the station. This one belonging to Alex. Finding his keycard in the room, you can access his escape pod and leave Talos, where he will right after contact you and just be shocked.
Morgan, I don't understand how you got the launch key to that escape pod. Of all the ways the test could have changed you, this was the last one I expected. You just... quitting.
My favorite part though is what comes right after.
We failed. This isn't the one.
So that is Prey 2017, and I would say we're done, but we're actually not. We still got to look at Moon Crash, the DLC that released 1 year after Prey 2017. This DLC is quite different from Prey as it takes place on a moon base, and I don't know about anyone else, but I love whenever something takes place on the moon. So let's just jump right into the DLC. Waking up in a small station, a voice is calling on you. We're playing as a man named Peter, or as he's referred to by his handler, 13. While there's not much to do around the shuttle, we can find a picture of a young girl and her plushie on the bed, this being confirmed to be our protagonist's daughter. You're being tasked to do a simulation run of the moon base and cover any important info and data. Though a part of me does feel like this is not a job that we choose to do, but instead was forced to. Fixing the chair, we can end the simulation and select our character to play as, with some other silhouettes of other characters. Now what's really cool is that all these characters are not only unlockable depending where you find them in the game, but they also have their own unique abilities and weaknesses. The first character you can play as is Andreas. He has several Typhoon abilities and a big skill tree to upgrade. He actually is considered a Typhoon himself, but he can't hack anything or fix anything and has very little health. The next one is Joanne. She's an engineer, so while she has barely any Typhoon abilities, she can fix items like turrets, electronics, and even doors. Riley Yu has a lot of Typhoon abilities and a good amount of health, but she can't hack or repair any doors. VJ has no Typhoon abilities whatsoever, but is probably the best character when it comes to pure strength and health, and also has a good amount of neuromod abilities to download. And lastly, there is Claire Whitten, who is the only one who can hack electronics. She has a decent health pool, but she can't fix anything. But she also does have a decent amount of Typhoon abilities she can use. All these characters feel unique, but also not too different where any of them feel off to play as. I personally really like to play as Joanne, as fixing things are just so useful. But we can't talk about the DLC without discussing more of the enemies you can fight against. We got all the enemies from the main game to the DLC, with the only difference being the designs. But there are actually 2 new enemies in the game. One is annoying, and the other one is way worse. Like, it's probably the worst enemy in the whole series. The one enemy that's added are these nest creatures that when they're close by will try and attack you by luring out his heads towards you. They can be annoying, but they don't have a lot of health and the damage isn't that insane, so shooting them a couple times will take them down. But for the other far worse enemy, that's the Moonshark. The Moonshark is a huge typhoon that digs underground. It's blind so it can't see anything, but it has an amazing hearing, so any noise that's being produced on the moon crater surface, it will dig towards it. It also does a lot of damage and will most likely break your bones if you get attacked. And of course it has a huge health pool, so good luck with that. Best way to avoid it is try to use the jetpack and only walk on these stone surfaces or platforms that's over the surface. By doing this it won't know where you're at. And if it does manage to spot you, don't run in a straight line, as it will just throw rocks at you, taking an insane amount of health. Thankfully, it is also easy to distract either by Typhoon Lure or any items are thrown in one direction. You also have every weapon or tool from the main game with some new ones added. There is now a new melee weapon called a cutter. It's this really cool laser knife that can shoot a projectile out when it's charged. It does really good damage, especially against typhoons. Because of this, I barely bother using the wrench, instead just use this one a lot. They also added a new item called the Typhoon Spore. So imagine like the nest enemy I talked about earlier, but you can just throw that enemy and it will just attack anything. It's actually one of the few things that can kill the Moonshark easily, like it has an insane power, which also means it's super dangerous towards you. Last item to mention is the glue bomb. It will explode with glue going everywhere, and while that sounds really cool, I barely really used it at all. I don't know, I didn't really find it useful. Only really used it if you had nothing else to strike the Moonshark with. That's pretty much the new enemies and items. What is pretty different though is how they deal with the difficulty in the game. In the main game, you will select what difficulty you want to play or what effects you want to have in the playthrough. However, in the DLC, the difficulty gets harder and harder as time goes on. Starting from corruption level 1, where it's chill and not too bad, to corruption level 5, which is just let me live, please. Hazard 5 is really tough, as the enemies are a lot tougher and they only spawn the hardest enemies on the map. Even at one point spawning a Moonshark and 2 nightmares in the same area. Like, you can thankfully find these hourglasses that can give you more time before the corruption level increases. On each run you'll be able to earn points to spend on items you buy before you start the run with a character. You earn them by doing anything in the simulation. Killing enemies, finding items, fixing items and escaping, and that's just to name a few. So the more stuff you do in the simulation, the more points you earn. But it is also important to try not to spend too much on one character and instead divide them by all 5, especially when trying to escape with all 5 characters in one run. One cool detail about these characters is that at any point if one of them dies in a run, if you play as another character in the same run, you can find the previous character as a phantom, where they will also have all the items they had when they died. So when playing the DLC, it is important to try and do everything as fast as possible. It can be tricky though, depending on what escape route you decide to take. There are about 5 different ones, with only one being exclusive to one character. Now, like I said earlier, the story reason for being here is to uncover information and a bit of the stories from each characters. So the goal isn't just to escape the move with each character, but to also uncover the stories as well. So let's go through them. The first character, Andreas, has the most unique one out of all of them. Unlike the other characters to play as, Andreas was not an employee but was an unwilling volunteer. When reaching his cell, we get a cutscene of his son controlling a typhoon. He wants his father to find his toy and use an escape pod back to Earth. When doing this, every typhoon won't attack you as your son controls them, or at least that's what it seems like at first. Finally reaching the pod with his son's toy, his son thanks him, saying how they can finally be together, and then Andreas' head explodes. Now, this happened because the typhoon who your son was talking through was just messing around with you, because your son was never really there. This typhoon has a great telekinesis power, so he was just trying to mess with you. But in the files, it does say how the original Andreas did actually manage to escape from the base back home, with some even speculating how he was the reason why the typhoons invaded Earth. Next one is Joanne. When reading her story, we are shown her killing someone. We found out from a past recording that she was hearing from a doctor that her friend was badly wounded, begging for an answer from the doctor on his condition, but the doctor could not give a proper answer. But later she found out he was no longer on the station, even his body was completely gone, even sending an angry email to the doctor asking where he was. So she storms into the office angry for not being told the proper truth and kills the doctor. You can even find an email of a colleague of the doctor warning him she's coming to the office and she's really mad. It ends with Joanne finding a statue made of her by a person named Brian as a birthday gift. This Brian person is the same one that Joanne needed to know the condition from earlier. When it comes to original Joanne, I'm not sure if she did manage to escape or not, but I part of me want to say yes because I could never find about it all, so. Now, these three next ones, they do actually correlate to each other in some way, especially the two last ones. Riley Yu is the cousin of Morgan and Alex. The story is that a newcomer called Noel wanted to test out the towers that would deliver a big shock to kill all Typhons in a certain area. But before Noel could do so, he got killed in the call. But by finally setting up the towers, you can kill Typhoons on the surface on the base.
Hello, monkey.
Riley is also the only character that can use the one escape from the moon that nobody else can. By logging on her PC and activating an operator, she can transfer some data onto it. But Alex calls her, telling how there might not be an escape for her.
Before you launch that operator, I need you to take one last precaution. You have the emulation tech Morgan was tinkering with. Use it. Copy yourself. I know it seems morbid, but we can't shrink from the reality that you might not make it off the moon. This will ensure at least something is left of our family. No one else is equipped to deal with what's coming.
Also side note, but it just took me time to get used to Alex's new voice. It just sounds so different, it was just so off-putting. Uploading Riley's conscience to the operator, killing her old body in the process, and escaping the moon. Kinda. Alex does mention also one thing in the last call, that there is a spy on the base, and we will soon find out who it is. VJ was the chief security on the moon base. His story starts in a room waking up having a drinking a bunch. He gets a call from Riley, telling him she found a spy on the base, which turned out to be a person named Claire. Riley wants VJ to kill Claire. As he locates her in the storage room, we found out she is not there, but instead just her bracelet, as he has taken it off, with several of the employees lying dead around the room. Trying to find something on the PC, a green gas gets turned out and poisons VJ. Claire calls right after telling him she is soon to escape from the base and that the gas infecting him will kill him, unless he has an antidote. She does tell him the location, but he only has a short time to find it and stop Claire. We're finding the antidote, and Claire, you find her in a pod at the top of the tower in the middle of the map. Claire tried to convince Vijay to let her go, as there's several of his workers that's also in the pod with her. But I said fuck it and decided to blow up the pod instead, so whoops.
I'm glad you believe it. You son of a...
VJ did not manage to escape from the moon base, as his corpse can be found around in the area. And the last character who plays is Claire Whitten. Claire Whitten was sent by her handler Basilisk, which is the same handler as Peter has. She tells Claire to delete all listening devices from TranStar so they can't find her out. But as we played as VJ, Riley did find her out. The recordings are in multiple places, even including Alex's office, with a recording of him talking to VJ about there being a spy in the base. The last task to do is to put the Casma command key in the operator Riley will upload her conscience in. Basilisk tries to comfort Claire, saying that they're still working on the escape route for her, but by doing the final task, Claire is informed that they will not save her and that she's on her own. Claire also did not manage to escape from the moon base, as her body can be found around in the moon base as well. But there's still one more story to go through, and that is of the main character Peter. As I mentioned earlier, he's a father who was employed by Casma Corporation. It is unclear if he was forced to work with them or not, but throughout each successful escape and uncovering each character's stories, he will be contacted by Basilisk. In the beginning, not much is happening, but later on, it's easy to tell that something is off and that our main character might not get what he wants in the end.
Space is cold, business is cold. He signed up for this. He's a hacker. It's not like he picked a safe job, right? So he's probably lived twice as long working for us as he would have otherwise.
I suppose. He has a family, yes? At least their future will be decent.
That's right. And thanks to Module 13, they're going to be fine. Which is what he wanted all along. Come on now. You think deep down he doesn't already know?
If you manage to escape with all 5 passengers in one run, Peter would have completed all missions for Casma and has no more work for them, but there is just one problem that occurs.
Unfortunately, budgets are tight and we just can't afford to pick you up. We're going to honor the contract though, and send your completion bonus to your family. Thank you again, Peter. We'll make it quick.
There's not much Peter can do, but if you look behind the chair, there is an oxygen mask to use. Using it, he can survive for longer, but for how long exactly, it's not sure. By flying up to the computer game, there is a new option you can choose. One is to travel back to Earth and the other is to travel to Cosma, but both of these are not available as there's not enough fuel. The only option you have is to crash into the moon. So clicking on it, Peter grabs his daughter's plush and holds it tightly as it looks out the window as it crashes. After the crash, Peter's still alive and grabs the plush and walks outside, but as he continues to walk towards the base, he gets more and more tired as the screen goes white. We're then met with the credits of the game with a pretty banger song, but skipping it, there is one final cutscene. He managed to escape the moon back to Earth and land in the ocean, but before crashing, he used his mimic ability to save himself. And that's pretty much the end of this video. Just like the main game, the DLC is also just fantastic. I have to say, playing both of these back 8 months ago, I did really enjoy them, but replaying them, it has made me love them a lot more. We unfortunately most likely will never see anything else from this IP, and as sad as that sounds, I'm not too upset. What we have here is a fantastic game with a fantastic expansion. This game doesn't really need a sequel, but if they decide to make one, I'll be there waiting eagerly. So with that being said, I thank you all for watching and I'll see you all next time.